everyone. I'm Dana, and this, more importantly, is Bill Nye. We are very excited to have him here for Talks at Google. He published a book recently, some of you might have read or will be purchasing very soon at the back of the room. It's undeniable, Evolution and the Science of Creation.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's 20 books in a carton.
Survival of the fittest, whoever is the fittest enough to get to him first.
No, I'm just saying you should think about buying a carton, that's all. No, it's all good. Lead on.
Are we? Let's have a seat.
Which side am I on?
I think you're on that side with
Oh,
the
we're the
coffee.
hat.
Yeah.
Yes, in case I forget.
Just in case.
Are there any questions on what we've covered so far?
Everyone's good with that? Okay, great. Yeah, so welcome back to Google. You've been to our offices before.
A couple times, yes.
So
Love it.
thank you for being here. This is ridiculously exciting for me because I've been a fan.
I love you, man.
So I wanted to start by talking about education, because that's how many people sort of got introduced to you. You are Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yes.
You know, we know you, we love you. We watched your specials and your shows growing up, and now you are an educator on evolution, which is awesome because we need more of that.
Because I'm a mechanical engineer.
Yes.
So evolution is... I'm
clearly in the
I'm
realm
an expert on evolution.
Right, but so clearly, you know, there were certain outside factors that inspired you to write a book on evolution, but it takes somebody with real passion to go out there and actually, you know, do the research and take the time to write and edit on something that's not necessarily immediately in your field of expertise.
Yeah, but I'm a science educator, and so I consider this book a primer on evolution.
Which is,
fundamentals.
It very much so, and written in a very interesting way, which was enjoyable to read.
Oh, you read it?
I did.
Whoa,
I read it.
whoa.
Right? Oh my goodness.
No, most of the time the interviewer doesn't have. No,
I read it.
I'm going to get to it.
I loved it. It reminded me of my environmental science class in the best way possible. Like all the things I loved out of that condensed down into a book.
Can I ask you a question? I know we're supposed to be me.
No,
you're supposed to. I'm supposed to. What is environmental science exactly?
At the time I took it, it covered evolution. You know, it covered a little bit of like biochemistry stuff.
What chemistry? Paleo?
Bio.
Biochemistry.
A little bit, touched on it. It was high school, so it wasn't, you know, we didn't get deep.
So there's water. There's a lot of water.
There's a lot of water involved. Yeah. Lots of bathroom passes and no. No, but it was an attempt to kind of introduce us to evolution and biodiversity, and we had a unit
good.
at one point.
Like the environment, the
like
science of the environment.
The science of the environment, if
Brilliant.
you will. Yes, but so it's, you know, it's not something that's in your immediate field, and I feel like, you know, you took it upon yourself as an educator to go out and do this. So can you tell me about some of the sort of highlights of your own education that brought you to this point in time where you're like, I am on a mission to educate?
That's very good, Bill. I had Carl Sagan for astronomy. All right, I just took one class from him. I was by no means his star student, just like some guy, but he had a huge effect on me. Is there anybody here? It's fine. Have you never heard of Carl Sagan? Oh, that's remarkable. Anyway,
All right, Google.
yeah. But people are from other parts of the world and so on. So he was a very influential guy, and my high school physics teacher was hugely influential, George Lang, and I had a fabulous 6th grade teacher. And these people just, you know, you spend more time with them than you do with your parents. And so this is why teaching as a profession is an important thing. Nobody wants to pay for it, but it's an important thing.
What would you say makes a great teacher, and maybe in particular a great science teacher?
Passion. Passion. No, that's what it is. What did you love? What did you like about your favorite teacher? Was he or she was excited about whatever the hell it was, right? Whatever the heck it was. Sorry. And so it's you want to have passion, and you also want the person to be knowledgeable. You know, it's very troubling when you show up and you feel like he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Sort of the story of my life. But it's the passion and the subject matter that interests you.
So
that's what makes a good teacher.
Is there something you think we can do sort of as a society in general that encourage, you know, the next generation of passionate teachers, because they're the ones who are sort of leading the way for the future of our future? And
I just tell you guys, and this is not rocket surgery, is you just have to pay teachers. No way! Sorry. If a person coming out of engineering school could get a job as a physics teacher instead of writing code here, he would think twice, right? But what do you make, 4, 5 times as much money at Google as you do teaching in high school? So it just makes people make different choices. And apparently, this is anecdotal, but apparently in my parents' day, that wasn't the case. And so the teaching was considered a profession, and people were well paid. But since so many public school systems are tied to property taxes, you end up with the people who need the best teachers getting the worst teachers, or the least qualified teachers, or the teachers who aren't as into it, and so on and so on. But this is the United States, and so I was born here. I don't know any better. I want the United States to be the world leader in all this stuff. You can't help it. I mean, any Canadian people? Right on. See? It's an example with some socialism that works very well, right? It seems to work very well. So it seems like solvable problems. I ramble, imagine. Weird.
But still on topic.
A little bit.
Well, so what would you say you value most in education? Is the passion and obviously the ground level knowledge that's required
right, yes.
to teach this information to other people? Are there other parts of it that you value,
Well, the other thing is, does anybody have kids? You've met people with kids. Some of you were kids. Anyway, kids, after a fashion, respond well to rules. And I would say they respond well to expectations. And as a friend of mine says, there are no rules. They're just traditions and understandings. So yeah, if you screw up, we have a tradition of you being punished. So I think that that feeling where you want to do well for a teacher? You want to achieve something for a teacher? That's because he or she has set out expectations. We're going to have this many quizzes or homework assignments or term papers or whatever the heck it is. And you want to meet those expectations. But you don't want rules for the sake of rules, right? So part of being a good teacher or a successful educator is to set achievable goals, expectations.
Would you say that setting achievable goals and expectations is something that we need more in the current fields, that we sort of need to step up and become leaders in again, with engineering and science fields and mathematics? Or do we need to make it more accessible?
Well, you have to, as I say, you have to do everything all at once. So you have to make it achievable and accessible. But it's really easy to set goals that the students can't meet. It's really easy. And if you set the bar too low, then as an educator, you're frustrated. I should have asked more of these people. So how many people are a product of STEM? How many people, STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. How many people got out of school before all that? Yeah. So for people my age, we didn't have that sort of background noise of STEM, 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 because we had the space program. And everybody was just expecting that people would go to the moon, that cars would have fins on them and look like rockets. And everybody expected that great things would be achieved. But after the Cold War sort of, resolved itself, then that emphasis fell off. So the big challenge now is not going to the moon, it's going to be climate change. And so I want you all to be the next great generation. Both of my parents are buried or interred at Arlington Cemetery. They were both in World War II. By the way, if you get a chance to spend 4 years in prisoner of war camp, I don't do it. Don't do it.
Sound advice.
Yeah.
Sound advice.
If it's an opportunity that you're confronted with. Then, ladies, I just got to tell you, so how many people have seen Imitation Game? Right? It's got your very good-looking Benny Bob Cumberbatch there.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. And, I have no problem with Keira Knightley. I'm good. But the whole thing there took place in Britain, right, in that movie. Well, my mother was graduated from Goucher College back when we had such things. It was the sister school to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland. And so the dean of students was a woman named Dorothy Stimson, who happened to be the first cousin of Henry Stimson, who was the Secretary of War. It was back before it was called called Secretary of Defense. It was called War, like that's what we're doing here. And I often wonder if things would be different, how things would be different if we went back to calling it the Department of War. Like no, it's war, that's what we're doing, yeah. It's not defense. Defending our oil fields, yeah, on the other side of the world. So anyway, she worked on the Enigma code, my mom, because apparently Henry Stimson said to Dorothy Stimson, do you have any girls, any women that can come work on this thing? I can't tell you what it is. So my whole life, people of that generation, they would ask each other, what did you do during the war? Like you would say, where were you on 9/11? Or, I can't talk about it. Can't talk about it. And so to the women here, I reflect on this story quite a bit recently. I remember my mother could not get an American Express card because she was married. She was Mrs. Nye, even though she had a master's degree and she went on to get a doctorate, my mom. And I remember her slamming the phone down, cussing at those people with just the D word. She wasn't dropping F-bombs back then. It wasn't that long ago. So we have climate change. So my parents we would call it from the greatest generation. We have climate change. And we're going to need scientists and engineers like never before to address this. And half of the humans are girls and women, so half the scientists and engineers should be girls and women, right? We can change the world. And so you guys we're living at an exciting time, and of course, as I understand it, it's a Chinese proverb, it's an interesting time, which the nuance or the connotation is, interesting means kind of sucks. Yeah. Like you can't relax. Yeah. So let's change the world. Yes. Go on.
All for it. Well, actually, you beat me to. I was going to ask you about sort of women bringing.
Well, I was brought up with this stuff. But my mother would also tell you, keep in mind, everybody, my mom would tell you when you could wear a floor-length gown and when you had to wear a cocktail dress. And this was important to her. This
very
crap.
Important.
White tie, black tie. Does anybody know? Okay, so if it's black tie, women wear cocktail dresses, and the men wear tuxedos with black ties. And I recommend, guys, you do what you want. Of course, I recommend a bow tie, but I think you should wear a shirt.
Also sound advice.
Yes, I mean,
Please
there's
wear
probably
a
few guys here that can pull it off, but I just think about it. Then if it's white tie, I was brought up with this, you guys. This same woman with the doctorate, all right? White tie, the women have to wear gloves, and the gown has to reach the floor. And the guys have to wear white ties, and shirts.
Always shirts.
Yeah, that's steady, yeah.
Well, your mother is an inspiring figure, you know.
Yeah, she's a big deal.
An academically impressive one as well. Who would you say are some of, your favorite women scientists, contemporary or otherwise?
Well, are there any members of the Planetary Society here? Right on, yes, I love you, man. So the Planetary Society was started by Carl Sagan back in 1980 as disco music was giving way to punk, to new wave, and the important work of Sid Vicious and the Sex Pistols.
Punk is something I'm sort of familiar with.
You wouldn't know it to look at you. Surprise, shocking. You knocked me over with a feather. No, it's all good. But Carl Sagan started the Planetary Society because he and a couple other guys, Bruce Murray, who was the head of the Jet Propulsion Lab, JPL at that time, and Lou Friedman, who was an engineer there, felt that public interest in space exploration was very high, but government support of it was not especially high. And so I joined the Planetary Society. I was alive in 1980, people, okay? I joined the Planetary Society, and I've been a member since 1980. Then at Carl Sagan's memorial service, I was asked to be on the board. Then I became vice president, which is just sort of a thing you put on stationery. And you guys know Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? So he's a dear friend of mine. I spent a lot of time with that guy. I was at his place for Thanksgiving. All right, anyway, there's a lot of wine. He's really into wine. He's an expert. I don't know if you guys notice about him. He's really quite the enologist. And so now I'm the CEO. I just don't really know what happened. It was a party, and he's pouring wine. And so now I'm the CEO of the Planetary Society, and we work to advance space science and exploration so that citizens of Earth will know the cosmos and our place within it. So you should all join. And we feel we're at another crossroads where public interest in space is very high, but government support of it is not especially. So one of the scientists I admire a lot is Emily Lakdawala, who works for the Planetary Society, full disclosure. And she is a geologist who is just remarkable. So she's on our website. Check her out. And then last night I was on stage. Check me out. I look like nobody. I was on stage with Sue Smrekar and Abby Allwood. And these are two, let's see, one she's not a geologist. No, she's a geophysicist. Yeah, she's a geophysicist. And the other one's not a geologist. She is an astrobiologist. And just an anecdote, if I may.
Please.
I was in a meeting with Bruce Murray, who was one of the guys who started the Planetary Society. And I said, well, we should contact that guy in France. You know, he's a geologist. He's like, he's not a geologist. He's a geochemist. Whoa, sorry, man.
An important distinction.
But I guess, yeah. So anyway, these women, I mean, they have come of age at a time when it was really difficult to get a PhD in geology, you know? And yet they're ruling the freaking world. Well, it's actually Mars. They're ruling Mars. And it's cool. So I admire those people. But you want to get to a point, I think, whereas you're not that concerned. Was it a man or a woman? Right?
That is the goal.
But we're not to that point. I mean,
we're working on it. We're working on it.
The longest journey.
Well, actually, speaking of folks like Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson and yourself and greats like, let's say, Sir David Attenborough.
Sure. Bill,
David,
like
Neil,
sure.
Carl,
Bill.
The Beatles. No, so
but the thing about the Beatles, they were all about the same age, and they were working together. Yeah, but go ahead. Well, Neil and I.
We'll call you all scientific rock stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check me out. Here's my card.
Scientific
rock star.
CEO and scientific
rock star. Well, I'll put it the other way around, but yeah.
Your choice. No, but you are all sort of masters at making science accessible and entertaining.
I love you, man. Yes.
No, Carl Sagan did it with his version of Cosmos.
Oh, yes.
And now Neil with his, and you had Bill Nye the Science Guy and all your specials, and you've just sort of been at the forefront and sort of leading the way with this scientific edutainment.
It's hip now.
It's hip.
Yeah.
It's cool. How do we make it more hip and cool? Because you have a global audience now. You know, I was maybe living.
Thanks to YouTube.
Yeah, what's up, our YouTube friends?
Yeah.
No, but we watched it on VHS in a classroom.
VHS, yes.
It's back in the day.
Yes.
Pre-DVD, folks. No, but now you have this sort of global audience. So how do you capitalize on that?
Well, briefly, I wrote a book. That was the next step, you know. So just to talk some more about me, because it's so interesting. I was a kid show host, and it was hard to get respect as a kid show host. You're a clown. You fall on your empennage, and you get buckets of water to the face. And so, by the way, if you ever are going to get a bucket of water thrown on you, untuck your shirt. You wouldn't think it would make that much difference.
Is this for science reasons, or is this just cold reasons?
Well, or
a combo.
But yeah, I mean, one's a result of the other. Yeah. the cold water in the crotch is...
Something to avoid.
Yeah, your mind goes right to it. But so it's taken me years to get respected in this other way, which I think, to your point, expands my influence.
And sort of leading off that, do you, again, you started as a mechanical engineer, do you feel that now because you were in the public eye that you sort of have to beef up your knowledge of, I mean, you wrote an entire book on evolution, clearly you felt you had to beef up your knowledge on that, but...
Oh yeah, I'm continually, disclosure, how many people watch or read IFLS? That's good, yeah. But I read Science News. Science News is really good. I mean, I don't get a plug for that or anything. What is your magazine about? It's called Science News. Oh. How many people read Space News? Oh man, that's a party. Yeah. You read Space News? Yeah. This week, Eutelsat is going to get Inmarsat to reckon a new K-band radio frequency. Cool. Whatever that is. Yeah. So I work hard to stay current, I guess, to answer your question. But it's the process. That's what I emphasize to everybody. It's the process. It's the way we know that's so important. And this is, frankly, what's so troubling about the guy in Kentucky, is he and his followers, I mean, they seem to be conventional brains and everything, but they use them in a really different way. And they just deny everything they can see in nature. And I don't know if you follow this fascinating aspect of my life, but I sent him a book, a copy of my book. Here's hoping you have a revelation. A real one. And
did you give him some ice for that burn too?
No, he doesn't.
I know he doesn't.
He doesn't take it that way.
Yeah.
No, instead he prays for me and quotes New Testament stuff that's supposed to enhance me, and he's just checked out. It's amazing, and it wouldn't matter except he's raising a generation of kids that are checked out.
And by the way, just so you know, as of at least this morning or recently, you were the #1 bestseller book under creationism on it.
I know. Check me out.
Like, that's score one for Bill.
But it does. But here's the thing. There is a thing, and you can hyphenate that. The thing. People are interested in it. People, as of sort of day before yesterday, there's almost 4 million YouTube views of that debate. So why would 4 million people watch this thing that I figure guys and gals like you kind of know the answer to? You're not going to, except like it's fun to watch a car wreck, I guess. Or not fun. I didn't mean fun. Fascinating.
You can't look away.
You can't look away. Yeah. So it really says that we have something going on in our society that you wouldn't expect. That people are still interested in questioning the fundamental idea in biology. Yeah.
But also watching the debate, I think, helped sort of as a platform to, if you ever do have to have this conversation with your friends or family or something like that, it gives you solid arguments to provide because, the rest of us aren't necessarily experts in evolution.
Well, I spent a little time, yeah.
Yeah, just a little more than maybe some of the rest of us, not all of us, but no, it gave sort of a valuable way to be like, well, no, look at the XYZ.
I know, yeah. So
dinosaurs, Ark, ate everyone
yeah,
when it
right.
worked.
That's right. So do you know that at the creationism place, they have done... No, I say that because they call it a museum. They do,
park.
But there are no artifacts. There's no thing. When you go to a museum, you expect to see. What do you expect to see? The Wright brothers airplane or something. Spirit of St. Louis. The rock hammer that Lyell used to discover deep time, or I don't know. But there's nothing from the past. It's all robots and animatronic stuff. And along with that is this very logically complete robot dinosaur, like I think it's a Pachycephalosaurus, if you're into it, eating a coconut, because they were all vegetarians until the fall, until stuff went wrong 6,000 years ago. I know, there you go. And speechless. She's speechless. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't know. That's kind of hard to compete with, but you did it. So.
No, so they got
Sounds like something out of like a sci-fi movie.
exactly. But so when you bring kids there, if you're a person who lives in Cincinnati area, I don't know how many people are from that area, but you probably think of Cincinnati as an eastern town, result of the steel industry, and it is. Gosh, if you ever, I don't work for Hilton, okay, but the Netherland Hotel in Cincinnati is amazing. It's this Italian marble columns in the lobby or atrium area, and have you ever seen Citizen Kane? And they have the fireplace.
Yes.
It's like that's the fireplace. It's like two stories high.
The exact fireplace they took the.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's amazing. Anyway, but across the river from there is Kentucky, and it's a whole notherness on the other side. And this, he calls it the Creation Museum, but there are no artifacts. And another irony: the Creation Museum is made of limestone and built on limestone. Kentucky. You ever been to Mammoth Cave? No, I mean, Mammoth Cave is just amazing, spectacular place in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And they don't really acknowledge how it all got there. It's really something.
So they have a theme amusement park museum.
Oh, yeah, they were trying to build an amusement park.
Yes, that.
The Ark Park.
Yes, so. Terrible punnery.
No, that's what they call it.
No, I know, that's the worst part.
By the way, at least as of a few days ago, they have not backed down. They're to be an employee at the new Ark Park, which is to get tax breaks or some sort of revenue stream from the Commonwealth of Kentucky for tourism. In order to work at the Ark Park, which is supposed to be for tourism, you have to write something about your walk with Christ, and you can't be homosexual, you can't be gay to work there. So that is against the law of the U.S. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how that's going to shake out. But if you're into it, it's like a cool thing to watch. It's the legal system at work.
Doing its job. Well, clearly they've gone with a sort of entertainment value in their own direction.
Oh,
but
man.
Yours, I feel, is a more legitimate.
Well, I'd say it's more.
And at least grounded in science.
Yeah,
and yes, one thing I thought that was great that you did that sort of distilled evolution down in addition to writing this book that was very fast and snappy and great for the current age we're in is the emoji evolution. Emoji evolution. And it was great, and I thought it was a great sort of use of current textual lingo.
I love the emoji.
Iconery. But it was...
Hey, what's the plural of emoji?
Is it emoji? It's just emoji.
Yeah, like deer or fish.
Yes.
You can tell them apart.
But do you find that to be an effective method of communication? You know, I'm sure it got hundreds of thousands of hits, and I think it's millions.
Well, it's cool. So,
right.
You guys, the hardest thing for me as an educator, the thing that I work on, is to work to get things understandable in short things. And grown-ups like me, well, these kids today, hey, attention span is so short. Damn it, when I was young. No, it's the same. And people are the same. People used to just thumb through the book, the magazine. Now we do this about the same speed. So condensing it is the challenge. I always talk about the discipline and the vocabulary, DIV. Got to have that. You can't define the word with the word. I mean, we all tend to do it. Well, bats echolocate, so they use echolocation. What? You just said that. And so you have to pay attention to the writing.
And I suppose like a limited medium like that sort of forces you, or
get her done.
Exactly, or having the show and sort of communicating to a younger audience just forces you to.
So fourth grade was so we had these very compelling studies back in the 1990s that 10 years old is as old as you can be to get a lifelong passion for science. And it may be, I will claim, anecdotal or a related story, it's as old as you can be to get a lifelong passion for anything. Like, what do you guys? You guys are all coders. What do we do? We're software designers. We're artists. You wanted to be an artist before you were 10, right? Or maybe it's 12, but it ain't 17. And so we aimed the show at people in fourth grade, at 10-year-olds. It turns out to be a pretty good grade for everybody. It turns out to be a pretty good level for most people, 10th grade. About half the viewers were grown-ups, so right around
watching with their kids.
That's what it was. Yes, yes.
But it's clearly, you know, an entertaining show for all ages then, and as opposed to being...
It's got to be funny, people. If it's not funny, just don't even bother. No, really.
Everyone quit now.
No.
I'm going to switch gears completely. I'm going to talk about space more.
We love space.
Yes.
I'm kooky
space
for space.
Is awesome. And I think last time you were here, you said, you know, if you guys all weren't here, where would you be? SpaceX. We just invested in SpaceX.
Yeah. No, I said that at lunch.
Yes.
If there's like when young engineers coming out of school, there's two places you want to go right now, Google or SpaceX, right? How about Microsoft? This is recorded, right?
Yep. What's up, buddies?
I mean, I'm not joking, but I will tell it as a joke. Some of my best friends work at Microsoft. I lived in Seattle, and most people, they're either at Boeing or Microsoft. So
with all love to Microsoft, but
I got to laugh. It got to laugh.
It's the right audience for it. No, so, you know, we believe in SpaceX, and we've contributed a sizable amount of funding to them.
Good.
If you were in charge, where are you going with that?
Well, if I'm in charge, there's two things we're going to do. Our mission is to send humans to Mars and to look for signs of life in the solar system. Look for signs of life writ large, but the solar system especially. So I have very good relationships with people. The European Space Agency, very cool guys and gals who work at the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA. Have a pretty close friend who works at ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. But NASA is still the biggest space agency in the world. It's still the biggest deal. And as they like to say, don't come running to me, Russian Space Agency, Roscosmos now, it used to be Soviet, has landed on Venus, has put balloons in the atmosphere, in the clouds of Venus. They made the first robotic sample return mission from the moon. You may not know this. Just a few months after the humans walked on the moon, their Soviet Union brought back rocks by robot from the moon. They did all that, but they're 0 for 21 at Mars. Landing on Mars is really difficult. There's just some physics problems that are hard to solve. They're not impossible, they're just difficult. So it's been estimated that what our very best rovers do, Mars rovers, do in a week, a human geologist could do in about a minute. So if you could get a human there, you could really get something done. And you guys, I just try to remind everybody what's at stake here. If we found evidence of life on Mars, or evidence of life on Europa. Europa is the moon of Jupiter that has twice as much seawater, or maybe more than that, times as much seawater as the Earth. More than that times, yes. More than twice as much seawater as the Earth. If we found living things there, it would change history. It would revolutionize the way everybody in the world thinks about his or her place in space, as I like to call it. And so this is a very small investment for robotic exploration. So at the Planetary Society, did I mention the Planetary Society? Did I say that earlier? Yeah. We want $1.5 billion a year at NASA for planetary exploration, and then we would like the human spaceflight people to focus on sending people to Mars. And what's happened is people in this congressional district, that congressional district, they want their space thing done, they want their rocket built, they want their capsule built, and then it just gets to be diffused. It's about building hardware instead of going someplace and doing something. So the NASA budget during the Apollo era was almost 10% of the federal budget. Now it's 0.4%. And then planetary science is in turn 9% of that. So it's less than 0.04% of the federal budget goes to planetary exploration, and that is yet where we make all the crazy discoveries. And this is the places where we would, dare I say it, change the world. And so we advocate for that. But if we were to put humans on Mars and find life, I mean, it would be, I mean, as I say all the time, we'd still drive on the right in the US. Like, let's not change everything. But just think how your life would be different if we didn't know the Earth went around the sun. If we didn't know that the moon had craters. You know, these are Copernicus and Galileo. These discoveries in astronomy changed history, changed all of humankind. You know, now if we take out a phone, if it doesn't tell you which side of the street you're on, this sucks, man. This weather report is off 10 minutes. I have an app, it tells you it says rain in 18 minutes. What the? And it's right. It's cool. So all that comes from space. That's what I'm saying. No, without space exploration, you wouldn't have that stuff. And so it's, I mean, like I'm telling you, it's Google. Did you hear about Google Earth? Have you heard about this? Sorry. Go ahead.
Team. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get a little ridiculous with space.
Oh, bring it on.
Yes, this is going to go a little sci-fi, a little, what does Bill Nye think about? What is a technology that you would like to see in your lifetime that hasn't been invented yet, without the constraints of sort of realism? So I'm talking like the holodeck, like a lightsaber. Do you want a hoverboard? Anything you want.
Really?
Yeah, let's go for it. Why not? I'm not saying we're going to make it
really
for you.
What I really want got recorded.
Within PG reason.
Yeah, it would end my career. So
within YouTube broadcastable reason.
There's two things that I really want somebody to figure out, and these are not easy things. The better battery, or if it's not I'm calling it a battery, better electrical storage system. You guys Google how much electricity do you use? Most of the U.S.'s output, like enormous, right?
I'm not going to take responsibility
but it's an enormous
probably.
amount of electricity, which we all benefit from. I mean, if I'm going to use electricity, it's a fabulous thing to use. I mean, there's nothing better. Better battery would change the world. And then if somebody could come up with a way to desalinate seawater much more economically than we can right now, that would just be freaking cool. These are really difficult engineering problems, I think. But what's not to love about engineering problems? As I say, engineers use science to solve problems and make things. That's our business, people. The world owes us a living. No, whatever. I'm kidding. So, but as far as the extraordinary space stuff, I would love to be able to fly in orbit at a reasonable cost, safely. Yeah. No, so have you heard about Mars One? People they claim they want to go to Mars one way. I don't want to go one way, everybody. I want to come back. I mean, I think that's sort of part of it, like, if I'm going to sign on.
You want the option.
Yeah, well.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, I want also a pretty solid plan. Not just the option, not just a checkbox.
Drop you there.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So that would be cool, but we're constrained by physics. You know, to get into orbit still right now takes a lot of energy. I'm not saying it can't be done. The cost can't be lowered, but it does take energy, and you got to do that right now by burning something. Space. We'll have a space elevator after we invent nanotubes. Cool. Yeah. You guys use nanotubes that are 50 nanometers long. We need them like 50 kilometers long, and then we'll take a meeting. Yeah. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's a long way off. So yeah, those things. But is that short term? The other thing the Planetary Society is involved in is solar sailing. So I don't know how much physics you're into, but it is a surprising result that light, although it has no mass, has momentum. Photons have momentum. So if you have a spacecraft out there in the icy blackness of space, and sunlight's falling on it, it gets a push, a very gentle, gentle push. But unlike a chemical rocket, the push is there all the time, day and night. Wait, there's no night. Ha ha! So the Planetary Society, this goes back to Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan talked romantically about a solar sail mission to catch up with Comet Halley. If you know Comet Halley, it used to be called Halley's Comet. But they found people from the Halley family stepped forward and said, we pronounce it Halley, not Haley. But I don't know if you know Rock Around the Clock, Bill Haley and the Comets. They're not going to change that, okay? It's Comet Halley, and let's see, Bill and the Comet Hollies. That's not going to happen. So I guess that's an older reference. Sorry, it's a rock and roll song, you guys. Sorry. Anyway, that mission got canceled when the space shuttle was decided to be built instead. And it was disappointing. Nobody caught up with Comet Halley, and people from time to time build solar sails. And the last really cool one was Icarus, which was, is anybody Japanese here, like from Japan? What's it, so the Japanese Space Agency always creates an English acronym. It's like, okay, cool. So Icarus means interplanetary kite craft. Acceleration, so it's cool. I mean, it's cool. So it was a good solar sail, but it was tested and it worked, but now it's in this really long orbit around the sun. It's not, not really flying useful or intended mission right now. But the Planetary Society, did I mention them? We're building our own solar sail. It's built. Yesterday, it got put in the UltraSat, which is a combination of small satellites that will launch the first week of May. If you got nothing to do, we'll see you at Cape Canaveral. It's going to be crazy. So this thing is a CubeSat. So it's 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 30 centimeters. This is a NASA standard. And these sails, which are made of this crazy, shiny mylar, except you're in space, so it just goes. And they will be pushed by the sun. So this thing is this big, and the sails are a little bit bigger than this first green patch here, just a little bit bigger than that when they are fully deployed. And so CubeSats are a very popular standard. You can go to websites and buy solar panels and stuff. And this thing was built by people around the world, our 46,000 members, who just think it's cool. And we're going to try this, and it would greatly lower the cost of many, many missions. And it would be part of the word that everybody loves now is democratizing space, where small organizations, universities, and so on could participate in interplanetary missions or cislunar, from here to the moon kind of missions. Mission is a jargon for spaceship thing. Spaceship things between here and Venus or Mars. And great, as the saying goes, if you can trade money, you can trade money for time. If you have time, the solar sail will take you anywhere. And so, people sit around, what we need, okay, we're going to build a solar sail, and then we're going to put a laser on the moon, and then we're going to shoot at the solar sail for 10,000 years, and it will go to Proxima Centauri. It's going to be brilliant. And but it's the only technology that anybody's thought of to go to another star system. Just, if you get around to it. 10,000 years. Let's see, the Roman Empire was pretty good. It went 750, like 800 years.
They had a good run. But
a good run.
Yeah.
So we need to go 10 times that long with an electronic thing on the far side of the moon. Okay. All right.
Clearly, there's an impetus out there to come up with a better plan,
That's
possibly.
right, yes.
Let's work on that.
But there's two questions that get us all. Where did we come from, and are we alone in the universe? And if you meet somebody who says, oh, I've never wondered that, and they're lying. Of course, come on. Of course you'd have. Are we alone? That's why I want to go to Mars and see. Does it have DNA? Are the Martian microbes, are they like us? Are they some other alien? Yes. Sorry.
I was going to say, do they have cell walls?
That's right. Do they? Yeah.
So let's say someday you're still around, we're all still around, humankind survives, and for whatever reason we meet, maybe not like cellular alien life, but full-formed alien life, and whatever hypothetical reason we are able to communicate.
Yes.
What would you say to them, and conversely, what would you want them to say to you?
Do you have any food? Sorry, that was my inner dog. It's just when I meet dogs, that's what it seems like they're. Are you another dog? Do you have any food? So I guess I would say, what are you passionate about? Why are you here? We came here because we just wanted to see what was going on. What are you doing here? I guess that would be the question. And they might say, well, we were just, I don't know, we were just wandering around. And then, in all science fiction stories, right, we wanted to see if the spaceship would work. Actually, we didn't mean to come here. Yeah. And
do you have directions? That's the real question.
Yeah. Well, let me get out my phone. Yeah. So, I grew up with a lot of science fiction. I mean, and the people who are members of the Planetary Society grew up with science fiction. And there's a tremendous amount of crossover between science fiction people and real space people. But right now, I guess it's not new, is this apocalyptic, everything is going to suck in the future science fiction. And what is so compelling to me about Star Trek is it's this optimistic view that the problems are solved, that people just get along, they don't have material problems. They have just human-to-human problems. I mean, you could say the same is true in Shakespeare. They're not worried about food and shelter. They're just who said what to whom, and
No, impending Romulan attack in Shakespeare, though.
Well, yeah, right. And there's no Romulans in Shakespeare. That was a great episode. I mean, it's really good. What's the name? What's the title of that one? Oh shoot! What's the title of the first Romulan episode? Oh well, I failed. But anyway, I was sitting there with some other Googleians. What are they called? Googlians?
Googlers?
Googlers.
Googlers.
Googlists. And they had never seen A City on the Edge of Forever, which is generally regarded as the best original Star Trek episode. And it's about people. It's as much as all the technology that goes on, it's about people. So that's still what interests us.
I think that's, part of the reason a lot of people, they're the actual space programs, yes, but that sort of surge of Star Trek on TV and Star Wars in the 70s and 80s,
Sure.
and let's... I think it keeps people inspired, but there's also the grounded science that people strive to achieve the things that they see in science fiction.
Magnetic field and
I think
subspace
QuickTime came about because of a Star Trek episode, is my understanding. Like the ability to play multiple audio streams. So, people are inspired by stuff like that. I don't know.
We are. Yeah, but it's about your imagination. I mean, I'm not telling you guys anything. The whole place is imagination.
So I think we are going to take some questions.
Oh, cool.
If folks could line up, we have a microphone, I believe.
Oh, wow. I love you guys. Thanks for coming, everybody, by the way. Thank you. You lead on. Dana.
Someone's up there. So, yeah. Hey.
Great. My question is about artificial intelligence. In recent news reports, Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk have mentioned their thoughts about it. If you could speak about yours, and especially how it relates to evolution.
So everybody's concerned about the singularity, when computers will be as smart as humans, able to not only win at Jeopardy, but other stuff. And I'm all for it, you guys, and you all may be right that when a computer is built that's every bit as screwed up as a human brain, that it'll be really great. But 20%, a fifth of the people on Earth have no electricity, have never made a phone call. I'm not talking about never made a cell phone call, never made a phone call of any kind. And the thing I always wonder about in these apocalyptic artificial intelligence scenarios, which Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking assert this will be the end of humankind, when humans build a computer smarter than we are. What if they stop shoveling the coal and the electricity shuts off? What are these machines going to do? They'll build their own nuclear reactors and force you to feed them electricity. Okay, we'll see. So I just don't think it's as apocalyptic as those guys assert. But I can easily imagine a situation where we all get increasingly dependent on something that controls our sewer systems, our electrical grid, our education system. So many people get classes, for example, electronically, and everything falls apart. That I can easily imagine. But I think it's not the same as having the robots take over. That's my feeling on it. Thank you. It's a cool question.
It's a relief to know,
Well, but I may be wrong. I mean, I'm the first guy to say I may be wrong. Maybe it will be the end of the world. So did you ever see it? You guys are too young. Colossus, the Forbin project. So they got we have computers, because of the danger of humans screwing up and killing everyone with nuclear weapons accidentally launched, they're going to have a computer control it all. Then the Soviet Union has the same deal. Oh, I know, we'll hook them together and they can, be in touch to prevent a worldwide nuclear catastrophe. But, stuff goes wrong.
As it does.
Yeah, when you get two supercomputers controlling nuclear weapons. Could have seen that coming, that's all I'm saying. Yes, sorry.
My name is Harrison, and I'm super nervous right now. But
bring it on, Harrison. That's so flattering, man. Thank you. I'm just some guy, all right?
So recently, Ted Cruz became the chairman for the subcommittee on space science and competitiveness, and he's habitually tried to cut funding to NASA. And this past week, the Senate voted on whether or not they thought climate change was a hoax. And overwhelmingly, they said that it wasn't, but they came back and said, we can't be so arrogant to think that it's caused by humans. So in your opinion, what would you say is the best way to influence policymakers to kind of embrace science more?
Okay. First of all, everybody, you have to vote, all right? You can run around and vote. My vote doesn't count. It's just one vote. I'm not going to vote. It's all you get. And for those of you who don't want to vote, would you just shut up and let the rest of us do what we can? So voting is hugely popular, and then these people really respond to letters. And emails are effective, but the letters are really... I've been several times to the Senate Acceptance Office, which is like an Airstream trailer. It is, right by the U.S. Capitol. And they take the letters and they take them to someplace in Maryland and irradiate them to kill any anthrax and stuff like that. But they open every one of them. And so if you write to those guys, they'll get it. But we have Inhofe, James Inhofe, who's written a book saying climate change is a hoax, as the head of the Senate committee. Oh, God, dude. And so we have to, it's going to be a near-run thing for humankind. I mean, I say this all the time. If the United States were leading the world in climate change, there would not be this whining about, well, India is burning more coal than they were allowed according to the 1990 protocol of the thing with the stuff and the paragraph 7. None of that would matter if the U.S. were out in front on this. So we got to stay optimistic and just write letters and vote to influence those people. And let us in California, for example, lead the way. We can pass laws locally that will be a model for the rest of the country. Whatever California does with cars, everybody follows. People in Ohio drive Futuras. They drive, what else do we drive? Malibus. They drive places with California place names because California has this reputation of, well, not just cars, but being like free and like wild. And so if
Mother Earth, man.
It's right. If we pass local laws here, we'll lead the way. So let's do all that. Let's do everything all at once. Did I mention the better battery and desalinization at extremely low cost? Yeah. That's a great question.
Science education is something that's clearly tricky and that you've kind of set the bar on in a lot of ways. So how can the average person be a more effective advocate of science and science education?
Do everything.
All at once.
All at once, yeah. Exactly. Just embrace science. And if you meet students that have questions, if you can, take time to answer them. And of course, don't be a know-it-all. I mean, it's easy to say. Hard for me. No, I kid. But embrace students, I guess. We were all young once, and the young people today are the future, and we want to encourage them. Another thing, you guys, and you guys were probably all these people, but there's a big emphasis often on nowadays what's called gifted kids. You guys are probably all gifted kids, but gifted kids are going to be fine. It's everybody. We want to get everybody to embrace scientific method and these discoveries that our ancestors made and this process by which we know nature. So I would say celebrate it in everything you do. Now, I'm a bit of a maker, gearhead, tinkerer. I got a feeling that people in this room sort of kick my ass at that. But it is fun. I have solar panels on my house. It's just fun to get an electric bill for $10. It's just fun. I mean, whether you hate it or not, it's just fun. So try stuff like that, and you get your neighbors talking about it, and then you can engage people. So I'm thinking out loud, man. This is a tough question. I mean, I don't have an easy answer.
Thank you.
The longest journey. Single step. Yes. No, it does.
Hello, Bill and I. My name is Tian. My question is, how do you think that mankind will eventually move to space where kids are born and raised in space? And if so, how much longer do you think it'll take?
Now, when you say mankind, you mean humankind. I'm looking at you. I don't know you, but I think you want to go humankind. So this is a great question. It leads to a bigger, higher idea that I'm all into right now. We grew up, especially in the U.S., we grew up with this idea that you just keep moving. In fact, humankind, everybody's from East Africa. Everybody. Let's go to Mesopotamia. Hey, we found some plants that grow every year. Let's eat those. Cool. Wheat, einkorn, and all this stuff. Okay, cool. We'll stay here for a while. Well, it's nice here, but I'm going to go. I hate you. I'm going east. And then people go across Eurasia. Then they end up in India. Then they get so out of hand. They end up in Alaska. And then all down North America, kicking mammal butt all the way down, eating everything. But we're not going to be able to do that forever. We're going to run out of Earth. And so I think it's going to take a change in our worldview. Living and dying in space sounds cool and romantic and consistent with this, let's spread out, let's take over the world, the universe, the solar system. I think it's really difficult. I'll give you that humans live in extraordinary places, but everywhere, by our standards here in Northern California, does everybody know the motto of California? The state motto, my fellow Californians?
Eureka.
Eureka, yeah. I found it. So these European guys come over the hill. Orange trees are like weeds. And the salmon are in the river. They're like on the Sacramento River like this. There's just all the protein you'd ever want, right? And so it gets so out of hand in California. The rocks are made of gold. It's like the thing is so crazy. But in zero gravity on Mars, places like that, it's not like that. Like when you open the spacecraft door on Mars, you're going to notice right away. Really cold, and you breathe. You'll notice that, right? That not breathing part, you'll go really be focused on that. So it sounds romantic, but I think what our future is going to be is exploring these places, but nurturing, taking care of ecosystems here on Earth. Now, this could be Bill the hippie talking, who's lost his way as an old curmudgeon, but living in space and having babies in space, making babies, I think is probably cool, but having babies. There was a couple on the space shuttle, and NASA's all no comment on that. Yeah. You got to think, though. Come on. You got to think.
Off the record experiments.
So far, yeah. But maybe there will be, now it can be told someday, some book. And I imagine there's some complexities. I've spent a lot of time imagining.
But back to humans.
But I think it's a lot harder than it looks. But it is a cool thing to ponder. What would it be like to live in space? And I just tell you, from a science fiction standpoint, 2001 is still a cool movie where they create a little bit of artificial gravity. When we go to Mars, I think we're going to need to do that. Well, you can take pills and everything and exercise 8 hours a day. I know, but I think we're going to want to have something that spins sooner or later. It's a great question. I don't know, man. Well, man.
Thank you.
Tian, right? I don't know, Tian. Yes.
All right, so we have a question from Googlers on the live stream. Kathleen is wondering, as a child, I participated in Mad Science and really enjoyed that experience, but didn't find any programs like this after middle school years. What are some ways you think science can gain more participation from high schoolers and beyond?
Well, you Google ought to have a program, man. Yeah. I don't know, except I do a job every year for Toshiba and the National Science Teachers Association. I'm not saying this is a panacea, there's something to think about. It's a scholarship program called Exploravision, where you have to come up with an idea for an invention that you think will come into existence in the next 20 years. And what's cool about it, there are high school awards akin to the Intel award, science awards and so on, but it starts in kindergarten. So a program that starts in, like Mad Science, starts in kindergarten through second grade, then third through fifth, then sixth through eighth, and then high school. It's consistent all the way through. So I guess here's what I think is we should find ways to build on existing things like Mad Science. And I guess I would call on a corporation like Google to lead the way. I mean, heck, I had sushi in the lunchroom today, for crying out loud.
In a boat?
I mean, in a boat, yes, a miniature boat.
The sushi was in a boat, not the people.
Yeah, we weren't in a boat. Yeah. No, it was solid ground, yeah. I mean, I get a little dizzy, but it wasn't in a boat. But there's a miniature boat on the table with a miniature fishing net with miniature fishing weights. It was cool. It was really cool, and thank you. I really appreciate it. It was cool. And what do we do now when someone serves you a meal like that? What do you do? Take a picture. I did. I took a picture.
You got to keep hip, you know.
Yeah, well, I do my best. Do my best. Yeah.
No, but I think people like yourself, we're grateful for you coming to places like Google.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Yes. I love you guys. It's so great.
Speaking about the joys of education, so right. I have two final questions.
Two final questions.
So you talk about how we all have 30,000 or so days on Earth.
Yeah. Oh man. You read the book.
I read the book.
I love it, man.
What do you want your legacy from that to be? Do you want it to be, combating climate change or pushing? Okay, all right, answered.
I want you guys to cure cancer. I mean, at some reasonable level. I don't think you can cure every cancer. There's some failure modes out there. And then I'd like you to invent a better battery, water desalinization. I would like you to raise the standard of living of women and girls. And the way to do that is through education so that the human population naturally starts to go down. And you guys, I mean, this is so sweet. Anyway, we're all playing the hand we're dealt, right? So I was born at a time in the 1950s. And one of the things that's very troubling when you get to be my age is you realize that you're going to die. I went through many years pretty sure that everybody else was getting older and was going to die, but I was fine. But is anybody familiar with the game of rugby football? Yeah, so unlike U.S. football, which we can all have a whole nother discussion about whatever they're doing, but you can't throw the ball forward in rugby. So what I often think of this metaphor is what you do is you run with a ball, you try to get as many defenders to come after you as possible, and then throw it to the next guy in the line so that he's got an open field and can advance the ball. So I'm doing my best to throw the ball of scientific discovery and understanding to you guys so that you can advance it down the field of life. Wow, man. And with that, I just have to add, as a guy who got a job at Boeing out of engineering school and lived in Seattle for 26 years, I just have to say, go Seahawks! I'm sorry, people. So did you see the game? You don't have to know anything about that. What is going on?
Some sloppy football, man. It was sloppy football.
It's some 19-0, and the guy, I'll throw it like this, and some guy catches it, and then we're going to kick a field goal like Charlie Brown and Lucy, and then we're going to, what? That's not fair. Well, I'm sorry. And then how many people have ever caught an onside kick, ever, in football, ever? Then they did that too. And they're like, oh, it was a cool game, you guys. You can hate football, you can hate me, you can hate everything. But it really was exciting. And I know the Packers, it's a team from, I don't know if you, there's a team from Wisconsin.
They play
Named after guys who slaughter meat, the Green Bay Meat Packers. That's what it came from. And they have a huge franchise, but the kooky little backwater Seattle Seahawks beat them in crazy fashion, and it was exciting.
I don't know if it's fair to call the Seahawks backwater anymore. They're pretty successful
Yeah,
now.
well, yeah. There's a company there, Microsoft, there, and you guys, I just want you to remind, as an old Boeing employee, airplanes are big, and they cost a lot of money. At least when I worked there, the Boeing payroll in the Seattle area, in King County, Boeing payroll was bigger than Microsoft. Not the Boeing profit, but yeah, so it's sobering to think. I mean, I love my software as much as the next guy, but big things that do stuff are cool also. Well, you guys, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Is it time to wrap and go sit and sign books?
Yeah,
Thank you so
much for being here.
Thank you so much.